Hi, so we're a minute past the hour, so I think we can get started now. So first of all, welcome. Thanks to everyone who has joined us. Really great to see you all here, whether it's your first one or you're a repeat visitor. So to introduce myself, I'm Andrew Morgan, and I'm just going to be the compere today, and I'm going to get through my bit as quickly as possible so I can hand over to Mohit, who's going to do the main presentation. For those that it is your first meetup, we aim to run at least one of these per month. And Mohit is actually going to be back later this month to do his deep dive into coroutines, Kotlin, Flow, and live data. And so sometimes it'll be a dev advocate, such as Mohit and myself. Sometimes it will be a developer from the SDK team, and it's great to get their deep dive sessions. And what we'd really like to see is some of you people actually come and present about how you're using MongoDB Realm or Realm. Okay, so just some very quick housekeeping notes. You've probably seen we're using the Bevy platform, not that different from everything else you've been using, whether it be Zoom, Teams, or whatever. One thing to note is that at the end, I will offer it up that people can unmute themselves or ask to be unmuted and sort of ask their questions in person. If you want to do that, then it's best if you use the Chrome browser. So if you're using Safari especially, now might be a good time to switch browser while I'm going through this stuff. Yeah, so as I say, I'll open up give you the option of asking to open up your mic and video at the end of the session. But if you've got any questions as we go through, just put them in the Q&A section of the chat. And then once we've finished, I'll put those questions to Mohit. You've probably noticed we are recording this session, so if, especially once we get to the live coding, if it goes a bit quick, you'll have access to the video, and so you can go through at your own pace. Finally, before we get started, here are some good resources. So if you haven't already joined our Realm global community, then go to live.mongodb.com and join. That way you'll be the first to know when we've scheduled new events such as this one. Otherwise, go to the Developer Hub and the forums. So Developer Hub, a lot of great content there. That's where we post the replays of these sessions, for example. And then if you've got any questions, go to the forums and we'll answer questions there. And then obviously we've got our Twitter account there. There is an opportunity to win swag, but we're going to make you work for it. So if you would like some of this limited edition Realm swag, or even better, sort of send a tweet out using the @Realm logo, and sort of we'll enter you into the competition to win some of this glorious swag. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop sharing and hand over to Mohit. So Mohit's probably going to take about 20 to 30 minutes to cover his slides and his live coding, and then we'll get to the Q&A at the end. But as I say, please do post your questions as we go through, and then I'll ask them from Mohit at the end. Okay, Mohit, over to you.
Thanks, Andrew. Hello, folks. How are you doing? Thanks once again for joining in. Um, okay. So I hope my screen is properly visible now to everyone. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let me get started. Hey, folks. This is one of the starting series of Get Started with Realm. This is an introductory session wherein we plan to introduce you how Realm helps you to build applications, where it gives you a lot of additional functionalities like offline sync, conflict resolution, trying to build complex applications without need of a backend, a proper backend. So let me get started with you. So today's agenda is I'll introduce you to the Realm SDK and Sync. We'll probably give you an overview around these two components. Then we'll go into a deep dive coding session. And at the end, we'll have a small session for networking and Q&A. So at the end of these session, what I think the takeaways for you will be, you'll be very comfortable in understanding how Realm works and what you can do with Realm. Apart from that, you'll be also able to understand, okay, with Realm, what all I can do, how I can code my first Realm application. So the requisite for this session is very basic requirements. I'm assuming that you guys are beginners with Android concepts. You don't need to be an expert. Basic Android knowledge, if you know how to build your first Android application, even just a Hello World application will do. You don't need to be an expert to for this session. Okay, so let's get started and see how it helps. Okay. So first, let's try to understand what is my proposition and what is the problem for which I'm trying to solve. Okay, this is the actual problem. A very simple problem. You have an application which sends a request, it receives the data and loads up on the UI, right? Nothing much. It's a very simple thing. But eventually, when you start building your application, you realize that it's not just this much. There is a lot more things underneath it. There can be a situation wherein your system is not online. You send requests to the server, but you didn't get the right set of data which you were looking for. Then you'll have to do the error management for that. Sometimes the data which you requested for and server told you, no, this is not the right set of data. There is something else. You need to change your data accordingly and do the needful. All these things adds a lot of complexity to our code. Okay, which many a times also leads to a crash, which nobody wants. When you start coding it, at the end of the day, this will be the complex architecture of your application. We are representing here Android and iOS both. Okay, so you'll see your mobile has its own database, then you are trying to back it up with SQLite, you'll have your own business logic, then you'll call the REST APIs to communicate with your backend server, and so on. The technical challenges with this problem, with this architecture, is that the network plays a very vital role. You never know when the network is be there or it can go off. The speed can vary and all those stuff. So connectivity, network. Okay. Then another problem with mobile application is you have to heavily rely on the mobile app lifecycle as well. Okay, so you can get a call while you're when you're using your application, or your mobile phone can get shut down, or you accidentally close your application, or the user decided to move it out of the application. Sometimes what happens is when you're building an application which is high memory or high intensive in terms of resources, it gives you warnings on data usage and battery life, and user decides, hey, it's taking too much, I probably don't need it, so I'll probably get rid of the application. So that also gives you a kind of a technical challenge, that how I can reduce this so that the user doesn't feel these bottlenecks. So at the end of the day, when you want to build an application, these are the additional things which you want to have. You want to have an offline application, offline first application. You want to build an application which is reactive. That means whenever a changes happens, either from a user end or from the server end, it should be responsive enough to show the changes on the UI. Okay. So this was architecture which I showed you earlier. And at the end of the day, we are trying to get rid of all that piece and build it something like this. I think so. You must be amazed, like so much things have been reduced to just these 3 blocks now. Okay, so now these 3 blocks are primarily two main components, is the Realm mobile database, which is there on your mobile phone, and the sync. I'll walk you through these components one by one. So Realm Mobile SDK is a lightweighted mobile SDK which is embedded on your mobile phone itself. This is the first component. The second component is the Realm Sync, which is kind of an intermediary layer which does all the heavy lifting and connecting with respect to the application logic and the database logic, and trying to merge both of them. And the third and the last piece of this problem is the cloud database service, which is MongoDB Atlas. So this is basically a cloud database service wherein you don't have to worry about the infrastructure, about hosting additional features which come by while you're using a Realm is that you get a provisioning of writing functions on the cloud. What it helps you to put all your business logic at one place, so you don't have to rely on clients to write business logic. So if somebody changes the business logic, okay, there's only one place, so it in turns goes back to single source of truth. You can write event driven applications. You can write triggers. So let's say, for example, you build an e-commerce application and the inventory of one of the items went low. You want to send a trigger, you can do that. This is a very basic feature, but it's also one of the very important features. It also provides you the authentication with third-party servers like Facebook, Google, Apple ID, and there are standard email authentications like email and password as well. Or if you don't find them useful, you want to have your own custom implementation, there is a provisioning for that as well. Last but not the least, you have the provisioning to decide what the access level of each data, which user should access what kind of data. So Realm SDK is not, although this meetup is primarily around Android, but Realm SDK is supported on various platforms, as you can see, from iOS, Android, which are by default, React Native, .NET, Unity, Node, Flutter, Web SDK. So this is the basic code flow of any application which uses Realm. You make any changes on the Realm SDK, which is on the mobile side. It is written to the local SDK. In turn, when you have sync connected to it, it checks internally, okay, there has been some changes. Let me pull back those changes and put it to Realm Atlas. It goes the other way around as well. Let us assume that somebody made the changes on the cloud database, that is Atlas, okay? And you want to push those changes back to the mobile client. So in that sense, you go and make some changes to the Atlas. Those changes are picked by the Realm Sync. Realm Sync in turns notify the clients, hey, there is some update. Why don't you take those update and reflect it on the UI? To do all this magic, there is a concept called partition data. It's a very detailed topic in itself, but for now, you can assume that partitioning of a data is kind of a primary key which segregates what kind of data has to be shown what kind of data has to be shown to which user. When I'm talking so much about data, there will be cases of conflicts as well, because there are multiple people. Some people are working offline, some people are working online. So there has to be a conflict resolution. Realm itself has a default conflict resolution. These are the three rules which are there. As per my experience working with Realm, I can guarantee you these rules are sufficient for you. If in case this list doesn't suffice you, or you're not happy with these kind of sets, you can for sure go and change and add your own rules. That's pretty much on the presentation side. Now let's go into the coding side and let's see how we can actually build an application. So what we intend to do is we intend to build an application which works in all the cases. This is a very simple application, and the purpose of this application is just to tell you what Realm is capable of. Okay, just a second. Okay. So basically in this application, you will notice it's a very basic application. It does nothing. It captures the user's name, okay, and save it on the MongoDB Atlas, okay. It works in all the cases, online and offline both. Okay, so I'll just give you a demo and then we'll go into the actual coding. So let's say, for example, I decided to write Andrew here. Yep, it changed to Andrew. Okay. Then I close the application. It says, hello, Andrew. This data is primarily coming from the local and the Realm combination of both of them. Whichever has the data, it shows the name. Okay. Now, okay. So what I did for just saving some of the time during the presentation, I created a basic Android application like this. I went here and I decided to create a basic Android application. That's it, nothing apart from that, which in turn will give you something like this. So as you can see, there's nothing special as of now in my code base. It's all pretty basic. Okay, now let's get started and try to add Realm to the application. So adding Realm to any project is very simple. You just need to add the Realm dependency. So I'll just quickly grab one Realm dependency. For getting the right tools of the Realm dependency, you can just go here, right? And you can select Android SDK here. Then the installation steps. This will give you the detailed insights of how to install and everything. Although I'll be walking you through, but in case you want to visit, you can check this page out. Okay. So I've added the plugin. Now, once the plugin is added, the next step is to add few more details. Since we will be using Kotlin for this program, I'll just go and add the PPT annotation processor for Kotlin, and I'll also add the plugin for Realm Android, just to make my system aware that I'll be using Realm Android. Let me sync my project. For now, for the first phase of the presentation, what I'll be doing is I'll be creating the application with just the mobile SDK, which has nothing to do with Realm Sync. Okay, so everything remains on your mobile phone. We'll try to validate that, and then I'll tell you if you want to convert this application to a Realm Sync creation, how simple it is to do that. Okay, so yep, this is all done. Okay, that's all I need to set up my SDK. Now I'll quickly go and create an application class. So I'll say, hello, Realm meetup. Okay, I'll extend it by application class. I'll initialize my Realm. Let's say, for example, while working, you want to check what are the build logs happening, what is the issue happening while you're building an application. So you can do something like this. You can set the debugging level of your Realm application, like Realm logs set level to Realm logs dot, sorry, log level to debug. And in other case, in case of production, you don't want to leak it for sure. So I'll just say info. Okay, now let's quickly add this to our manifest file so that it's aware that I have something. Realm local setup, SDK setup is completed. Okay, quickly let me run this app so that we know what is showing right now. Oops, I got an error. Okay. Right now, for Android Studio right now has an issue with build version 31.00. So this version has some issues, okay, because of which we are going back to the previous version, that is 30.00. So that is why the error came in. So I have just resolved that. Let me try to run it back. Just bear with me. I think this is the first run. That's why it's taking a bit of a time. I think so. This is presentation jinx. Like whenever you are going on the presentation, it will take more time to build up your system and load everything. So bear with me.
Maybe just back to building. I was wondering, so a prerequisite for this session was you know how to build a Hello World Android app. What's a good resource if someone's never built an Android app before? Where would you send them?
So I'll probably send them to the official course. So it is very simple and straightforward. You can just go here, write Android Kotlin. Okay. So this is basically a course for all the programmers who have some experience but want to learn Android development. It has everything. It gives you the basics of Android and Kotlin both. So I'll probably recommend people to going to this website.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll just post it on the link on the chat as well. Yeah, okay. Okay, I think so. Yes, our app has completed. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So this is the application, the default application which you'll get once you create a template project. Okay. Now let's get started. I'll go to my first fragment. Never mind. I'll do the code in the code itself. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll add a text edit box here. Okay. And move the other things little below. So I have already coded that piece of thing. So I'll just simply paste it so that we can focus on the right piece right now. Okay. So this string is not there. So I'll probably hard code this for now. So this is the default layout. Okay, now let's start coding for that. Okay, cool. So for this session, we will be following the MVVM architecture. So I'll be creating view models according and do the needful. So let us create our first view model. Okay, so I'll just go. Okay. So my view model is there now. Let me add the view model as well here as a dependency. Model. We don't need to go to the second screen, so I'll just get rid of this click. Okay. Right now we don't have anything in the view model, so we cannot observe anything. So let me add few functions. So now what I want to do is, as soon as we start entering, as soon as we enter our name and press submit button, I want to put that into my local database. So I'll create a function for that. So I'll say on submit. This will take name as string as an input. What I'll also want now, this name has to be saved somewhere, right? So we need a data model for that. So let us create our first data model. We'll call it as user. Okay. I'll simply say, okay, now since I'm using sync, like eventually we're gonna extend it to sync. So let us define a few things. So I'll do that. Just bear with me. I'll define a primary key. So Realm key is very similar to JSON serialization name annotation. Okay, so in JSON serialization, I don't have that library right now. So when you're using it and you want to define a variable name as per your name, so you can define it here, and the variable or the field name which you want to keep, you can keep it as per your will and wish. So I'll keep it as string. Let us define it as a UUID so that it remains unique for everyone. I don't want my data to be seen by Andrew. I want it to be private for me. Okay. So then the last not the least, let's create field name which will be saved. By default, I like to initialize it with blank for now. Okay. Now my model is there. Now, as soon as my model is there, now I want to add this value to the realm. So I need to get an instance of realm. Okay, realm db. So I'll say it as realm, and I'll write realm dot get default instance. And that's it. You got the instance of your db. Now, once the instance of db is there, you will probably like to push data into it. So let us push the data. So what I'll do is I'll first create the instance of my user class, something like this, and say dot apply name, this name equal to name. Okay, so whatever user input is there, we have that input. So current user. Now I want to save this information to my DB. So what I'll do is I'll tell, hey, why don't you execute a transaction for me? When you're talking to the database, you want to make sure that it is done in a transaction because there could be many fallouts for that. So I'll say, okay, execute this transaction for me. Then it gives me an instance of realm. Okay, I'll say, okay, why don't you copy the realm object, this user object? Oh, I forgot to tell you one thing. So just for saving any kind of object to the realm database, we need to extend with a class called realm object. Okay. So I'll simply say, okay, current user. So what it will do, it will, sorry, wrong function, copy and insert and update, sorry. Insert or update the current user to my Realm database. Now with these three blocks, you will see that I am successfully able to insert my current user to the database. That's it. We don't need to do anything else apart from this. Okay, so let me see what else we should do. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's pretty much. I also want to see if there was a previous user with me or not. So what I'll do is I'll define an init function which is called whenever the application gets loaded. Okay, I'll simply copy paste few of the code just to save the time because I am thinking that we are running a bit low on the speed. Okay, so I'm doing the same. There I have called it as user info. Also, what I'll do is I'll rename this as user info. Okay. Let me create some live data for that. Okay, so now with this piece of code, I'm just doing the same thing which we did earlier. I'm saying, okay, whenever this view model is loaded or is initialized, just check what is the current user. Okay, what is the first user in the database, and just load it to the UI. Now let us observe this live data on our UI. So I'll probably say view model dot user dot observe lifecycle owner. And now we have the instance. Okay, so here we'll do nothing. We'll just say binding. Where is my text view? I'll say dot text equal to. I'll put a condition with no need. I'll just say user info it dot name. In case nothing is there, I'll simply say hello. That's it. But for now, on submit, I want to call my view model function. So I'll say submit text to string. That's pretty much. So now with this application, you will see that we are getting the input from the user. So the input is being captured from this field, which is edit first. We're capturing the user input, saving it into our view, asking our view model to save that information into the Realm database. That right now it's the local database. Okay. And then I should also do one thing. Once that it is inserted, I should also sorry about that. Okay. So it will be reflected to the UI also. Okay. So this is the only code required to save the data in the Realm database. That's pretty much. Let us try to run this application and see what happens. I'm pretty hopeful that it will not work because I think so the same jinx apply whenever you're trying to do. But let's see. Andrew, how hopeful are you that the application will work in the first go?
Absolutely. First time every time.
Let's see. It gives me a blank screen. Okay, this is the meeting application. Oh, it loaded. Okay, I think so. I was slow. Okay, let me try to write my name. Oops, the first crash. Okay, it is saying I'm trying to run something on the UI thread. Okay, yeah, it's a very valid point. Oh yes, okay. So look, this is the beauty of the Realm. Realm forcefully ask you to write everything on the backend thread. Now, this execute transaction doesn't account for that. There is another function which is async, Realm async, which does everything on the background thread. So when I was trying to do that, it gives me an error saying, hey, you're trying to run something on the UI thread. Probably you shouldn't do that because you're not trying to interact with a database.
So while that's building, may as well ask one of the other questions, and that was what impact does Realm have on the size of your application?
I don't think so. There is a substantial impact when you're using Realm in terms of app sizes. A lot can be configured while if you know how to configure ProGuard properly. Okay, in my experience, probably it will add another 5% to your application size, assumingly you have your application size is around 30 MB or 35 MB, which I think so is a fair, decent application which has a complex business logic. But in terms of if the user concern is that it will add a lot of increase my app size, don't worry on that because Android by nature has introduced a lot of methods just to reduce the app size.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep, it's working now. Okay, now let's quickly try to add Realm Sync to it. Okay, before we do that, I'll just give you a small recap what we did so that it will be easy for you to understand how we are converting this to a Realm sync. You see, everywhere I'm trying to get an instance of Realm, and based on that instance of Realm, I am trying to perform all the queries which I want to do. Now with Realm sync, it's just one small tiny difference. You need to get a Realm instance from the Realm sync, not from the local database. Okay. So what we will do is I'll create another view model saying second view model, or I said say sync view model. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll copy this whole code. Let's start converting into the Realm sync part. Okay, let's start with the init function itself. Okay, I need to get the Realm sync instance. Okay, now the thing is, oh sorry, one prerequisite which I forgot to mention here. You need to enable Realm sync. Right now, Realm sync is not enabled. Okay, the earlier step which I mentioned you was in respect to the mobile database itself. So you need to enable Realm sync. I'm not sure what is the syntax. Yeah, Realm syntax. Okay. Let me just check the syntax ones. I'm not very sure about the syntax. Yeah, it's almost the same. Something like this. I just encapsulate it into a property. I'll just sync this. Okay. So now Realm sync by default is configured for you. Also, you need to add a Realm sync app ID. For now, okay, let me show you that as well quickly. Okay, my screen has switched. So what I'll do is I'll type in cloud.mongodb.com. Since I was logged in, it took me in. So the additional steps will be just to register with the cloud.mongodb. It will ask you to give you some basic information. That's it. That's pretty much. Okay. So your project view will be something like this. So what you can do is you can hit create new project and you can create new project. Since I've already created a new project, already have a project, I'll go into that itself. Then go to the Realm tab. Hit create new application. Write the name of our application. Realm sync. You don't need to do anything. This will be there by default. If you don't have a database, if you don't have a database right now, it will automatically create one for you. For me, since it was a pre-created account, the database was already there. I'll just hit create application. Now I just need to copy this Realm sync ID. Okay, you can copy like this. Okay, and then go to your application code base. This. I'll introduce a build config variable. I don't want to expose my Realm ID to anyone, although it won't add to a security risk, but it's better to keep it outside of your application code. Okay, so this ID tells you, okay, this is how you're connected with sync. I'll come here and I'll probably write one line. I'll say app. Come on. I need to get an instance of Realm app so that I can create a single instance. Just bear with me for a second. I'm checking my backup code. Why I'm not able to get that instance? Yeah, I should probably able to get that. Yeah, the import was not there at that point of time. Okay, no issues. So I have got the Realm sync app instance. Now with that Realm app instance, what I have to do is I have to sign in. Okay. So the thing is with MongoDB, with Realm is that they want everything to be secure. So by default, they want you to sign in. Okay. So in this application, we haven't created any login application. So you don't need to worry that I need to create another workflow for login. You can use, there's something called anonymous login. So you can use that. So what I'll do is I'll say Realm app. Still building for me. Sorry. Come on, buddy. Be quick. People are waiting. Yep, finally there. Okay. So I'll say login credentials. I'll say I'll not repeat the same mistake, so I'll do a thing this time. I'll say credentials anonymous. That means I want to have an anonymous sign in. Okay. It will give me a callback. Okay. In this callback, I'll simply check whether my authentication was successful or not. If it's successful, okay, why don't you give me the user instance? Okay, let's for now just wait for a second, then I'll tell you why I'm getting the user instance. Okay, now I have my user. Okay. Now the next step is from this realm, that realm sync object, we need to get the realm instance, which will help us to sync our data. So what we will do is we will create a sync configuration, something like this. Okay. Here you see that I have used the current user as my current user is one of the properties which you need to pass on when you're trying to create a sync configuration builder. Okay, so I have passed my current user, and then I have defined my partition key as my user ID. For now, you can ignore the partition key. In simple layman terms, it's the key with which you decide what data has to be exposed to which user. Then I'll simply do like this. I'll say realm dot get. I'll simply pass my configuration builder, and then I'll get a callback. Sorry about that. Let me implement the callback functionality. Okay. That's the only difference. Now we got, why it's giving me error? Now we got the Realm instance. That's it. You don't need to do anything else apart from this now. So what I'll do is I'll simply take this piece of code and put it here and get rid of this first variable. That's it. Now your code is connected with Realm Sync. That's it. Nothing apart from that. That's the only thing which is required. Now, since I did enable like login configuration, we'll have to enable the same thing on the Realm Sync as well. So let us quickly go to the Realm Sync. Okay, you can see a lot of information here. So I'll just go to authentication here. I'll say enable authentication. I'll just hit review and deploy. It is deployed successfully. Since we have also enabled sync, we have to enable it here as well. So I'll go here. There are two options for enabling sync. One is wherein you already know your models and everything. One is wherein you are building on the go. So for now, we are just building on the go. So we'll define this. I'll say this. I'll say my partition key as _ID. Oops. You can use any variable name. I decided to use _ID. That's it. And I decided to create, I'll use this database as my backup. And I'll say turn the demo on. What is, okay, I cannot use _ID. Okay, my bad. I'll change it to ID. Now, what is this developer mode? Basically, this is a mode wherein it's telling you, okay, I'll keep on adding the models as soon as you're building it. So we are fine with it. I'll just hit and deploy again. That's it. Okay. Now, just for the time's sake, what I'll do is I'll swap the code base with my code base which I built earlier. Okay. Which does almost the very same thing, which we are doing it. I'll just quickly show you. So we created the same instance. It is the same code. I didn't make any changes to it. Okay, that's it. Now let's update the on submit part. Okay, so now with the on submit part also, we are doing the same thing. We are logging first. Once the login is successful, I'm creating a sync configuration. Once I have the sync configuration, I'll just say system realm to give me the realm instance, which is connected with sync. See, that's pretty much. And then I just pulled everything into the transaction. I just added one more logic, just checking whether I already have the user or not. Because earlier I was taking the use case that I'm the first one, but it could be a case that you are not the first one. Okay. So this is it. Okay. Now I'll just simply run it once more and give you a small demo that how it works in the offline. So I've turned off the emulator. It is now in the offline mode. I should probably add a loader. Sorry about that. Okay, since it already had some configuration, it says hello Andrew. I'll change it to Mohit. So it says hello Mohit. Okay. Right now the application is in offline mode. Everything is in the local DB itself. There's nothing on the cloud. Okay. So I'll go and I'll put this. Okay. It says, no, this is the wrong application. Sorry about that. It says hello Mohit. Everything is now in the local database. Let's go to our Realm Cloud. I'll probably go to the first one, which I created earlier. Okay. I'll go to my Atlas. Browse my database. It had Andrew earlier, which you saw. Okay. So since my device is offline, there's nothing here. Okay. So we'll keep it like this for now. I'll just hit a refresh once more. Perfect. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll make my system online. Come on. Yep, I'm online now. Okay. Let me play around a little bit with the application. Let me also hit a refresh. You see, the name has changed. So earlier the application was in offline mode, and once it came online, it automatically refreshed the data. You have noticed that I just went to the recent tray and wiped out the application and did that. That was just for the sake of demo, but even if you keep it in foreground, and if you make the network enabled again, the data will refresh as soon as possible. There, I think so there is some threshold limit for that. And based on that, it refreshes. That's pretty much on my side then.
Okay. Thank you, Mohit. So we don't have any pre-submitted questions. So we've got 2 or 3 minutes. If anyone has another question, please post it to the Q&A or request to become a presenter, and I can open up your camera and mic. Any takers? So thanks for that, Mohit. So that's your was that your first attempt to go through that in real time?
Yes.
Well done. 5 minutes to spare.
Okay, I covered at least.
Okay. It doesn't look like we're getting any more questions. So just a reminder, these are some of the resources. So in a few days, you should see a recording of this appear on developer.mongodb.com. If you've got any questions after this, then go to the community forums, and we'll do our best to answer. And a reminder, if you would like some of the Realm swag, then send out a tweet about this meetup and include the @Realm tag.
I forgot to mention one thing. I've written 2 articles around how to get started with Realm and Realm Sync. These have its own GitHub repositories. So in case if you want to follow up there, you can follow up there. Also, as Andrew mentioned, once this is live, I'll probably put this code application sample in the description of the YouTube video.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess with that, it does not let us any more questions. So thanks everyone for attending. A reminder that our next meetup is later this month, where Mohit's going to do that deep dive into coroutines, Kotlin, Flow, and live data. So thanks everyone.
Thank you.